Hi everybody, how are you? It's Katty Elias from Beautifully Rooted, and I hope you're doing amazingly today. Today I want to talk to you about parenting. Now, there is 1,000,001 topics that we can talk about in parenting, and we will get to many of them, hopefully. But right now I wanted to address 3 misconceptions or myths that I think that are out there in parenting in regards to emotions in our children and how we help them deal with those emotions and present those emotions. But I think that sometimes they have unintended consequences, even though they sound really nice, they seem like nice principles, but in reality, I think that they're actually more hurtful than helpful. So let's go over these 3. So I'm going to present the 3 to you, and then we're going to talk about each of them, okay? So the first one, you should always hide negative emotions from your children, or you always should have everything together in front of your children. I think that's myth number 1. Myth number 2. You should never argue in front of your children. We definitely hear that when it comes to marriage, right? You should never argue in front of your children. Keep everything for private, okay? I think that's a myth. Now, number 3, your kids should always be happy. I think that's a myth as well. Now, I don't mean to sound negative. I want this to be a positive thing for you, okay? But I think we want to look at reality. So those are 3 myths that I think that are out there. Now, I think something that I want to explain to you is that one of your jobs, one of your roles in parenting is not to paint such a picture of life that it's so rosy and that nothing is wrong and that everything is perfect and that travesties don't happen. That's not the role of parenting. The role of parenting is to teach your children how to effectively navigate through life well, how to deal with emotions when they come up, how to deal with difficult times when they present themselves, how to move forward even when you feel stuck or when you don't want to, how to relate to other people and how to love them, even if you're in a disagreement. And one of your roles is to teach them how to contain themselves appropriately so that they can regulate their emotions so they can come back to a place of well-being. Okay, so let's take the first one. Okay, so the first myth is you should always hide negative emotions from your children, and you should always look like you have it all together for your children. Now, I think that is a nice idea, and it probably comes from a good place. However, I think it sets up your children for unrealistic expectations of how life should go and how it does go, okay? We don't live in a perfect world. Things do happen, and your children, as teenagers, as young adults, and as older adults, they are going to experience those things. So instead of hiding those things from them, you want to teach them how to effectively deal with it, okay? One of the ways they do that is through social learning, is through learning from you how to deal with emotions. But if you always hide your emotions, they don't get to see what to do with it. They don't get to see resiliency in action, okay? So you don't have to pretend everything's okay. It is okay if you sometimes cry in front of your kid if it happens to come out. You don't have to hide that you're mad or frustrated. You don't have to have it all together all the time. That is just not realistic. No one is perfect, okay? Now, don't hear that you should just let everything be displayed in front of your children. I don't think that is good either, okay? Some things are appropriate for particular ages and some things are not. Okay, you do need to have some sort of discernment. If you are going to a place where you are saying damaging things or doing damaging things, abusive things, if you cannot pull yourself back, if you are so distraught that your child feels responsible for you, you're too far. You need to get help, and that help should not come from your child, okay? But if you have normal emotions that come up, you teach your child, you be honest with your child, they see them. One of the most damaging things can be to paint a picture different than what they see as reality. Now, if their reality is wrong, yes, you repaint that picture for them, help them to understand reality. But to try to distort reality for them actually can be very psychologically damaging. You want to present reality to them with what they can handle and with what's appropriate for their age and teach them what to do with that. Now, a couple disclaimers. Some of the things that you want to do is you want to tell your child, yes, mommy or daddy is having a hard time today. Yes, mommy or daddy is crying right now. mommy, daddy feels kind of sad or embarrassed, whatever it is. But mommy will be okay. But daddy will be okay. So you want to tell them that you are going to be okay so that they appropriately feel empathy towards you. You want your children to have compassion for people, and you're the best example. Aside from their siblings, you're the best example of a relationship for them. So you want them to have compassion for you, but you don't want them to feel responsible for you. So one of the ways that you make that limit, you help make that limit for them, is you remind them, but mommy or daddy will be okay. But yes, mommy or daddy is sad. And if they say, oh, and they rub your back or they do something like that, and they show some sort of sign of compassion, accept those things, okay? But when you start seeing them feeling responsible for you, you make that limit and you pull it back in, okay? If you are not really sure how to deal with emotions effectively, please go get help. So much can get better, and you can learn so many things. You can contain yourself. It is possible. It's not for your child to teach you. You have to go seek outside help, okay? Because it's hard to teach what you don't know. So what you want to teach in parenting is how to reasonably, how to, in a healthy way, deal with emotions and how to navigate life, okay? Now, let's talk about marriage. Let's talk about relationships in front of our children. To teach them that no conflict should ever come up, or that you shouldn't respond to a conflict that does come up, is unrealistic. You're setting up your children for unrealistic view of what marriage should look like, okay? Now, you shouldn't have so many conflicts that the negative outweighs the positive. That's a problem area, okay? You shouldn't be looking for conflicts to bring out in front of them on purpose. That's not necessarily the case. But if conflicts come up and your children are there, they see it already, okay? Your job is to teach them how to relate to each other, how to resolve conflicts, how to approach problems together, okay? And how to love somebody else even when you disagree or there's conflict. Those are important skills that you don't want to miss because you want to hide everything or because you feel that that's best or it might break them. It's not going to break them. If it's done in a healthy way, it is not going to break them. In fact, it is going to make them healthier. Now, again, if you're doing abusive things, if you're doing things that are out of the line of appropriateness, that might be harmful. You do need to curtail that and you need to go get help. Okay, that is not for your child to help. That is for you to go get outside help. And it can be helped. Things can get so much better. Now, again, your job is to teach them that what to do in conflicts, and that yes, conflicts do come up. Your children, I'm sure if they have siblings, they already know conflicts come up. Conflicts come up in every single relationship that there is. Some sort of conflict is going to come up. There's different intensity, there's different levels, but no two people are exactly the same, even when they're raised in the same household, okay? So some conflicts are going to come up. So you want to teach them how to deal effectively with those conflicts, okay? All right, so let's see. The third myth, your children should always be happy. Now, it's a really nice idea. And of course, we want our children to be happy. Of course. But to always step in to ensure that they're happy will rob them of the ability to get to happiness on their own. Now, we're supposed to guide them. We're supposed to help them. But it's unrealistic in life to think that you're only going to have happy feelings. Now, we should have joy that comes from the Lord. That's unmovable. That's something that is because of the Lord is so good that we can have that joy, that he wants our joy to be full. But happiness is a little bit different. Things happen in life, okay? And it's okay to have emotions because of it. So you want to teach your children how to contain themselves, how to regulate themselves, how to grow, and how to have resiliency. You want to teach your children how to contain emotions when they're children, how to do that. You want to give them the gift of being able to do that on their own so that when they're older, somebody else doesn't have to contain them for them, okay? You have an ability to provide a safe and loving environment. And teaching your children how to regulate their emotions, they might not get that safe and loving environment when they get older, okay? That's unrealistic. So your children being happy is not the sign of good parenting, Okay? Sometimes kids just don't respond well to good parenting. It doesn't always feel good when you have uncomfortable feelings or when you're being disciplined. But God tells us He disciplines the ones that He loves. We're to discipline the ones that we love, right? We're to discipline our children. So your children being happy is not the ultimate sign of good parenting. Maybe a little bit of the opposite, right? When you're doing good parenting, your children aren't always going to be happy with you. You don't look to them for validation only for good parenting, okay? So your children don't always have to be happy. It is not the ultimate goal of every single day for your children to be happy. They should be able to learn how to deal with uncomfortable feelings because that's normal. You want them to learn those things, okay? Let's look at a couple scriptures that I think that are pertinent to what we talked about today. So Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it, okay? He will not depart from it, yes. So you want to teach your children wisdom, discernment, regulation, resiliency. You want to teach them God's word. You want to teach them all those things. Train up a child. Take the time. Put in the work. It is an investment, okay? All of these things that you want them to learn now so they can have the best chance at having the best adulthood and teenagehood and adulthood and older life and relationships. You want to give them the best chance. So train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Second scripture, Hebrews 12:11. For the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. Okay? For the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant, but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. You want your children to have the peaceful fruit of righteousness, okay? That has to come through boundaries, and it has to come through a whole bunch of different things that don't always bring pleasant and happy feelings, okay? So take the time, teach your children. You're not damaging your children by showing them how to live life. Show them how to live life well, okay? How to navigate it. All right, I hope that this helps. If you have any other questions or any other topics that you'd like to hear about, I'd be glad to hear those. You can find us on Facebook at Beautifully Rooted INC. So that's BEYOU TIFULLY Rooted INC. And Instagram at Beautifully Rooted, spelled the same. Okay. You can find us on our website, www.beautifully.rooted.com, BEYOUTIFULLY rooted.com. We have lots of ways. You can find our phone number on there. You can find our email on there. I'm more than happy, and it's a privilege to be able to provide education on these things. And let's talk about real stuff, no facades, practical and helpful. Okay? May God bless you this week, and I wish you well. All right.